GloRilla is back in jail, but this time it is not just the arrest that has people talking, it is the shocking condition of her cell. Cramped, filthy, and completely inhumane. The space has sparked serious concern among fans who believe she is being mistreated. And they are not wrong to feel that way. Picture this: she just rocked the stage at the WNBA All-Star Game in Indianapolis, thriving in her element, representing the culture, and securing her wins. But while she was out there handling business like a true boss, someone broke into her home, yet, instead of being treated like a victim, the system flipped on her. This arrest feels shady from all angles, exposing just how backward and unjust the system can be when it comes to black success stories in hip-hop. Imagine this: you are the one who gets locked up, while the real criminals are still out there roaming free. This is not your typical celebrity scandal or petty online drama. It is a glaring example of how broken the system really is when it comes to justice and priorities. GloRilla turned herself into Forsyth County Jail on July 22, 2025. And what makes that moment so powerful is that she chose to confront the situation directly. She could have sat back, hired top-tier attorneys, and fought it from a safe distance, but instead, she stood tall and walked into that jail like a true warrior. The facility, located at 202 Veterans Memorial Boulevard in Georgia, is far from glamorous. It is a gritty county jail where she was processed just like anyone else. They took her fingerprints, snapped her mugshot, and tossed her into a cell, as if she was just another name on the docket, not a woman whose home had been violated. Inside, the reality is brutal: tight quarters, freezing temperatures, and flickering, fluorescent lights that never go off, stripping every ounce of dignity from the moment. Imagine being crammed inside a cold concrete cell, where the mattress is so thin it feels like sleeping on a sheet of paper. There is zero privacy, just a stainless steel toilet sitting out in the open with no seat, no dignity, and no peace. Depending on your luck, your cellmate could be battling drug withdrawals or losing their mind to voices no one else hears. Why? Because this jail offers practically no real mental health support. Inmates have gone days without hygiene essentials, often having to plead with officers just for toilet paper. Mold stains the corners of the showers, and the constant mix of body odor and chemical disinfectant clings to the air like a curse. The food, cold, tasteless, and barely enough to satisfy basic hunger. On top of that, the jail has a dark history: allegations of abuse, neglect, and even sexual assault by a former deputy. And when whistleblowers tried to call it out, leadership, ALLEGEDLY, looked the other way. This is not just incarceration, it is psychological warfare. And when the news of GloRilla's arrest dropped, the streets exploded with outrage. Everyone could see how twisted this was. The woman whose home was invaded ends up in a cell, while the real criminals walk free, probably laughing at the irony. Although she was released the same day on a $22,260 bond, the damage was done. The humiliation of being treated like a suspect instead of a victim hit deep. But if the police thought GloRilla would just take that quietly, they were dead wrong. She clapped back hard, and the culture felt every word. On social media, she broke it down clearly. Long story short, my house gets home invaded, and I'm the only one arrested. Then she cleared the air. She was not caught doing anything illegal. Her home was burglarized, and she was not even there when it happened. That honesty hit different because it was raw truth, and the community could feel it. Instead of tracking down the people who broke into her house, the system focused on weed possession. That is the kind of backwards logic that fuels frustration in communities who know this playbook all too well. When justice turns into a punchline, GloRilla's story becomes more than personal, it becomes a symbol of how the system keeps failing those it should protect. GloRilla's legal team came out swinging, refusing to stay silent about the clear injustice she faced. Both she and her attorneys openly criticized law enforcement for prioritizing minor drug charges over investigating the violent break-in at her home or arresting the actual suspects. This was not some celebrity meltdown, it was a bold stand against deeply rooted flaws in the justice system. Attorney Drew Finneling called the case a troubling glimpse into how distorted law enforcement's focus has become, pointing out that even after GloRilla's family contacted the police about the burglary, no warrants had been issued for the intruders. Meanwhile, the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office scrambled to defend their actions with a tone-deaf public statement. Sheriff Ron Freeman wrote, "The homeowner is a victim of a serious crime, and we are committed to bringing the suspects to justice. At the same time, we must continue to uphold and enforce the law in all aspects of the case." But that message fell flat because, while they claimed to support her as a victim, their actions treated her like a criminal. The contradiction was hard to ignore, and the community was not having it. Fans and supporters rallied behind GloRilla, recognizing her arrest as just another example of how marginalized people are mistreated by the very systems meant to protect them. Social media erupted, with users slamming law enforcement for focusing on cannabis possession instead of going after violent offenders. This was never about fame, it was about justice. People saw the bigger picture and knew exactly what this situation represented. Instead of solving a crime, they targeted the victim. That twisted reversal outraged the culture. Typically, when someone's home is broken into, the top priority is finding those responsible and restoring safety, not flipping the script and arresting the person who was wronged. This controversy struck a nerve, highlighting the systemic failure in how law enforcement often operates. GloRilla's online response came at the perfect time. In a post on X, she wrote, "Long story short, my house gets home invaded and I'm the only one that gets arrested." That statement quickly became a rallying cry, a symbol of how upside down the justice system can be. And the sad truth is, this kind of story is not new and probably will not be the last. Rewind to 2024. And you will find another incident that stirred the pot. On April 16th of that year, GloRilla was pulled over in Sewanee, Georgia, around 4 a.m. after making a U-turn at a red light near Peachtree Industrial Boulevard and Sewanee Walk Avenue. From the moment the officer approached her vehicle, the situation escalated. He reported smelling alcohol and marijuana, and noticed she had bloodshot, watery eyes, classic DUI indicators. But GloRilla's response quickly went viral. The body cam footage showed her pushing back hard on the questioning, that signature, Memphis energy front and center. When the officer asked how much she had to drink, she was not trying to play along. Things got even more intense when she disclosed that there was a firearm in the vehicle, something she tried to handle responsibly, despite her state. But it was her attempt to leverage her celebrity that truly caught attention. Frustrated that the officer did not recognize her, she dropped the now iconic line, "I'm on your TV," with all the unapologetic swagger that fans love her for. That one-liner became an instant meme, perfectly capturing her bold personality even in a messy situation. Still, the officer was not moved. Field sobriety tests followed, which she failed, and she refused the breathalyzer. Even then, GloRilla continued to argue the results, standing firm in her stance. The moment revealed both the pressures of fame and the harsh reality that celebrity status does not always provide a shield, especially when the system is already set up to criminalize rather than understand. GloRilla's legal team did not hold back. They came out strong, challenging what they saw as a glaring miscarriage of justice. Both she and her attorneys slammed law enforcement for focusing more on minor drug-related charges than actually solving the violent home invasion she endured. This was far from a celebrity outburst. It was a direct call-out of a system that seems broken at its core. Her attorney, Drew Finneling, called the case a disturbing example of how skewed police priorities have become. He pointed out that even though GloRilla's own family reported the burglary, authorities still had not issued a single warrant for the suspects. In response, the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office released a generic statement, trying to cover their missteps. Sheriff Ron Freeman wrote that they were committed to justice for the homeowner, while also enforcing the law in all aspects. But for many, the statement rang hollow because if she was truly seen as the victim, she would not have been treated like the criminal. The hypocrisy was too loud to ignore, and the public immediately called it out. Fans and activists stood behind GloRilla, not just because of her fame, but because her experience reflected a larger truth for marginalized people. Social media lit up with frustration as people watched police focus on weed possession instead of chasing down armed intruders. The case touched a nerve. It exposed how the system often flips the script, punishing the vulnerable instead of protecting them. In a just world, the focus would have been on finding those who broke into her home, not making her the headline. But instead, GloRilla became the latest example of how warped law enforcement's approach can be when it comes to victims from the culture. Her response on social media hit hard. Posting on X, she wrote, "Long story short, my house gets home invaded, and I'm the only one that gets arrested." That sentence captured the absurdity perfectly. It quickly went viral, not just as a moment of frustration, but as a rallying cry for those tired of watching the same story play out again and again. Sadly, her experience is not isolated, and it is unlikely to be the last. Looking back to 2024, another situation added fuel to the fire. On April 16th, around 4 a.m., GloRilla was pulled over in Suwanee, Georgia, after making a U-turn at a red light near Peachtree Industrial Boulevard and Suwanee Walk Avenue. The officer who approached her claimed he smelled alcohol and marijuana, and noticed her eyes were red and watery, classic signs of impairment. But what made this incident go viral was GloRilla's bold attitude throughout the exchange. The body cam footage captured her pushing back with that signature Memphis confidence, refusing to play along with the usual DUI questioning. When asked about how much she had to drink, she stood firm. Then came a critical moment. She informed the officer that she had a firearm in the car. Despite the situation, she attempted to handle it responsibly. But things took a sharp turn when she tried to use her celebrity as a lifeline. Frustrated that the officer had no idea who she was, she famously said, "I'm on your TV." That line exploded online, instantly becoming a meme. It summed up her energy: unapologetic, bold, and unmistakably herself even in a hypersure situation. But the officer was unfazed. He conducted field sobriety tests, which she did not pass, and when asked to take a breathalyzer, she refused. Yet even after failing the tests, GloRilla continued to push back, challenging the results and standing her ground. The incident captured a powerful contrast. Fame does not always translate to protection, especially when the system seems more interested in criminalizing than understanding. In the end, her story highlighted not just one artist's legal troubles but a larger truth about inequality, justice, and how far we still have to go. When it comes to GloRilla, the streets know exactly what she represents, and it is not some manufactured, label-crafted image. Most fans and cultural commentators reject the idea that she is an industry plant. Instead, they recognize her as a raw, marketable force whose Memphis flavor, authenticity, and cultural connection run deep. Her rise was not scripted, was earned. Born on July 28, 1999, in the tough Fraser neighborhood of North Memphis, Tennessee, GloRilla came up in a strict Pentecostal household, with her first taste of music coming from church choir harmonies. She truly came from the bottom, building her name brick by brick, using nothing but grit, talent, and relentless determination. Initially, her dream was to become a singer, but a vocal injury at age 16 changed her course. Rather than give up, she pivoted to rapping, an instinctive, creative shift that speaks to her resilience and raw drive. That kind of pivot is not calculated PRIT, is survival and reinvention. Her breakout hit, FNF Let's Go, produced by HitKid in April 2022, lit up TikTok and YouTube almost overnight. But this was not some label-backed, PR-engineered rollout. It was a fiery, unfiltered anthem that connected deeply with women sick of toxic love and ready to reclaim their power. The song sparked the viral hashtag FNF challenge and pulled in more than 45 million views in just a few months, landing at No. 42 on the Billboard Hot 100. But more than chart numbers, it was a movement. FNF became a cultural flashpoint because it told truths people felt in their bones. You cannot fake that level of connection. The song's organic success led her to sign with Yo Gotti's CMG label under Interscope in July 2022. But that came after she already proved herself independently. That right there breaks the entire industry plant narrative. She earned her deal, not the other way around. And how she revealed it? In pure Memphis fashion. On a private jet, with champagne in one hand and stacks of cash in the other, she signed the contract with a grin, celebrating her journey from poverty to stardom, without hiding a single ounce of who she is. Her follow-up tracks proved she was no one-hit wonder. Tomorrow 2, featuring Cardi B, hit No. 9 on the Billboard Hot 100, her first top 10 single. She snagged a Grammy nomination for Best Rap Performance with FNF, and was crowned Best Breakthrough Artist at the 2023 BET Hip Hop Awards. In October 2024, her debut studio album GloRilla's dropped, landing in the Billboard 200 Top 10 and featuring heavy hitters like 21 Savage, SZA, and Cardi B. Yet despite the fame, the accolades, and the spotlight, she never abandoned her Memphis roots or lost her voice in the noise. When you line her journey up against others who have faced similar accusations, you start to see the deeper issue, a pattern of doubting women, especially Black women, when their success comes from staying true to themselves instead of playing by the industry's rules. GloRilla did not just rise, she soared on her own terms, and the culture knows the difference. When it comes to GloRilla, the streets have made their stance loud and clear. She is not some label-made illusion. She is the real deal. While other artists like Ice Spice, who shot to fame in 2021 to 22 with hits like Munch and Princess Diana, faced accusations of being industry plants due to her quick rise and clean branding. GloRilla's path was different. Ice Spice herself shrugged off the rumors, saying she now understands that skepticism comes with fame. Sexy Red, too, caught heat after going viral and collaborating with big names. Critics like Lord Jamar even claimed she was planted to corrupt minds. But Sexy Red clapped back, reminding everyone that her rise was fueled by authenticity, not promo dollars. Then there is Doechii, who signed to TDE and went viral, yet still faced doubt despite years of grinding. The pattern is obvious. Female artists, especially young Black women, are often the first to be labeled inauthentic when their star begins to rise. But with GloRilla, those accusations do not stick. Online communities, especially on Reddit, have defended her from the jump. Memphis locals in particular have vouched for her rawness, pointing out that she hit the scene exactly how real hood girls move: gritty, confident, and unpolished. One user even said, "GloRilla came in the game presenting how actual hood girls typically do." Industry legends agree. Busta Rhymes praised her for staying untouched by the industry machine, saying her voice carries the weight of real experiences. GloRilla herself has spoken openly about her creative choices, affirming that everything from her lyrics to her styles hers and hers alone. That level of creative control is rare. It speaks volumes. This is why her recent legal situation connects so deeply to the conversation around authenticity. The fact that she is being treated like a criminal after being the victim of a violent crime shows how success, especially for people from the hood, often brings a new kind of scrutiny. Think about it. If GloRilla were truly a manufactured product of industry protection, would she be dealing with this kind of public legal drama? Would she be arrested after her home was broken into? Absolutely not. If she were being shielded by the powers that be, it would have all been handled behind closed doors. But GloRilla is not shielded. She is out here facing the same broken system as everyone else. That is what makes her response so real. She has not hidden behind lawyers or PR statements. She is addressing the public directly, speaking to the culture, calling out the injustice, and being transparent about what she is going through. Her refusal to shy away from this fight has only deepened the respect people have for her. She is not pretending to be above the struggle. She is in it, facing the same system that so many others do. That is why fans are not just standing by her because of her music, they are standing with her because they see themselves in her story. The truth is, the industry plant label is often used to discredit women on the rise. But instead of asking whether GloRilla got help along the way, the better question is, did she stay true to herself and her roots while climbing? And everything she has done, her come up, her music, her community loyalty, and how she is handling this case proves that she has. That kind of realness cannot be manufactured. Even after reaching major success, GloRilla is still dealing with the same systemic challenges as people in her community. She is not removed from those realities, is living them, and the way she has chosen to speak out rather than remain silent shows exactly why she resonates so deeply with the culture. Her arrest and the way she was treated have become more than just a headline, they have become a symbol of the way this system targets successful people who dare to rise out of struggle. This legal battle is not just about her, it is about what she represents. She is proof that someone from the bottom can make it, stay authentic, and still stand tall in the face of injustice. And the fact that this is happening at the height of her success while her album Glorious is climbing charts and her influence is spreading, just adds another layer to her story. Instead of being celebrated, she is being criminalized. But she is not backing down. She is holding up a mirror to the system and forcing people to see the truth. At the end of the day, GloRilla is not just another rapper making noise, she is a symbol of resilience, authenticity, and what it means to come from the hood and still hold your head high. Her journey, her voice, and her fight are a reminder that realness cannot be bought, faked, or silenced. That is why her story matters. That is why people are still watching. And that is why she will not be forgotten. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to check out the other stories on screen.